I'm Gary Birtles, one of the old gits from a long time ago. You've got to tune into Tricky Talks, I believe, so just do it. All the best.
Robertson, the first time we've seen them attack them, and there's Francis! Well, that's what I wanted to see Robertson do. And still Robertson, getting his shot in, and a goal! Robertson!
Hello, welcome to the Tricky Talks podcast, as the honeymoon period is well and truly over for Vitor Pereira after a weekend which saw Forest suffer another league defeat at the hands of Brighton as the season threatens to rapidly spiral out of control. Hopefully my co-hosts are not spiraling out of control themselves. So let's say hello to Chelsea. How are you doing?
Yes, not too bad, thank you. I wish it was in better circumstances us talking on the pod today, but we'll see how we get on. A lot to dissect today, isn't there?
Yeah, I should say I hope you're feeling better as well, Chelsea. I know you've been absent for a couple of weeks, so yes. Hope you are in good health.
Yes, I'm getting there. Slowly but surely wins the race, as they say.
Good. And Kate is here fresh from the aforementioned trip to Brighton. How are you doing? You recovered from your journey back, which I believe where you encountered a few delays?
I mean, it had already been a bit of a day. It didn't help that I then completely lost my car and was wandering around Sussex University with absolutely no idea where I'd put it. It's not a big car either. So just literally like wandering aimlessly, loads of people stopping, trying to help. Where are you trying to get to? My car.
You say you were wandering aimlessly. I can think of 11 other people who were wandering aimlessly as well. So yeah. on that note, Mollo is here as well. I believe you were also ill and unfortunately didn't make the game on Sunday. But I hope you're feeling better as well.
I know, first one of the season, I think. But yeah, a lot better now, thank you. And I was hoping, as I already felt sick, I was hoping at least Forest would make me feel better. But lying on the sofa, wanting to shout at the telly, whinging. But what can you do? It's Forest. It
is Forest, and let's kick off then. I don't think we need to talk about the actual game a huge amount because we all watched it or we were there, but we need to talk about what it really means in the big picture, don't we? Because they did look like a team that was on the verge of relegation, didn't they? I think that bigger picture is looking more and more likely. It's going to be between Forest, West Ham and Spurs, and our only hope, I think, is the form of West Ham and Spurs, because they look just as bad. Who wants to kick off with their thoughts then? Maybe start with you, Kate, as you were there. You came out the ground feeling pretty deflated, didn't you? I know.
I really did. It bothered me yesterday in a way that previously I'd seen it. I knew it was a possibility, but I did have some hope, and we sat, didn't we, and we all looked at the fixtures and what to target and what we might get where. And yesterday just sucked all the hope out of me. That's the only way that I can describe it. And I think that was, for me, the overriding feeling as well in the away end. We weren't booing particularly. There were shouts here and there of, why are you doing that? Why are you in that position? Why don't... But it was a kind of weird, sad acceptance that this was pretty bad, that it was a bad situation. And you know what? After their second goal went in, even though it was that early in the game, you just thought, we haven't got 2 goals in us. We were surprised that we had 1. And it just felt like a real sucker punch. And from that point on, it was, the feeling of a little bit of hopelessness, which was then obviously compounded by the performance on the pitch and watching them play and seeing them stroll around, out of position, disorganised, looking like they didn't massively care. Maybe that's harsh, but it's how it felt, it's how it looked for a lot of them. And yeah, journey home.
You touched on a point there that I want to expand on. Do the players care enough? Because it's all right for a lot of them, and this remains to be seen who, but if they do go down, you've got to expect the likes of Murillo, Anderson and Gibbs-White at least to depart and go elsewhere. And they probably know that as well, deep down, even though they may not talk about it amongst themselves or certainly in the press, they don't. And Anderson hasn't. Of course, he's very much focused, he said, but do they really care at the end of the day? It is their job. They should care. I know Gibbs-White cared.
Yes, I was going to say, before someone else answers that is my one caveat. Gibbs-White cared. He cared. He fought. He really did try and did look at times like he was feeling similar levels of despair to me. So that is my one caveat. Sorry, Simon. Carry on.
That's all right. But what about the others, Mollo? Because it's all very well having a bad performance, but it was a collective bad performance, wasn't it? They, apart from Gibbs-White, nobody covered themselves in glory whatsoever, did they? And it was an unfortunate day where Williams and Murillo both had off days.
Yeah, I think as to do they care, absolutely, I'm sure they do. I think I like the word caveat. I was going to say context. I think there needs to be some context to all this as well, to that performance. And the very first context, if you're a piece of context for me, is I don't know where this idea came from, and I'm pointing downwards here, that Brighton was a go and win game. I think when we were talking about where we're going to find these 4 wins from, I said at the time we never do well at the Amex. It's a tough place to go. They've started to turn it around, and I'm really wish I'd been horribly wrong. But I think the other context is the pressing was rubbish, but it wasn't through a lack of general effort. It was for want of a better phrase, a lack of understanding of the expectation of, I mean, the second goal was junior school, wasn't it? You had one player pressing for his life from left back and disappearing, and others kind of watching him run around like a loony. Meanwhile, their players just sort of casually strolled to the back post to get the 2-on-1 against Murillo. And that's not through a lack of effort, that's a lack of understanding of what is supposed to be going on. Now, why on earth a professional footballer's got a lack of understanding? 4 managers is the answer. It's very clear, isn't it? 4 managers. Are we supposed to press? Are we supposed to sit? I ended up, because I was home, I've sat through it again and watched I was interested in what they'd say on Match of the Day, and they hit the nail on the head, didn't they? 2 managers who want to press, 2 managers who want to sit mostly in the low block, and this was that betwixt and between bit, wasn't it? How much time has he had on the training ground since he came there? Well, we went off to Turkey, we played Liverpool, we played a home game, so I'm not making excuses, it's all context. I think they care, but ultimately you mentioned some players that will be snapped up, but there will be others that will get good money for, but it's who stays and so on and so forth. But I do feel, perhaps because I wasn't at the game, I totally 100% understand where you're coming from, Kate. The deflation of going there, walking out the ground, and I've done it every time we've played Brighton normally, especially since I moved away from that area. But I think the context again was, I watched Spurs play, they're worse, and they've got no excuse. Yes, they've got a new manager as well. They actually look like they don't care, like they're not trying, and they've got, yes, I get Murillo didn't have his best game. Obviously, Neco finally proved that he's human by having 2 awful games on the trot, but we know that he'll come back from that. We know he'll come back from that because of his character. And in fact, the second goal was him trying too hard, if we wanted this, in a stupid way, partly, not all his fault. And we've got quality players that can defend. So, and this is so negative, but if we can scrape a couple of 0-0s along the way in the next couple of games or whatever it is, I haven't looked far enough forward in the fixtures, and then we can do something against what is at the moment an abysmally poor Spurs team, we'll be able to leapfrog them. I know it's all ifs, buts and maybes, but that's where we're at. And a lot of players are out of form at the moment, and you don't need that, because last season it was the other way round. But I genuinely think they care. I think there's certain players we've got, their language styles, the fact they don't tackle makes it look like they don't care sometimes when they're trying to do their jobs. I think, as poor, and I know we're picking out a player because we know how good he is and how fantastic and consistent he's been. As poor as Neco was, it didn't look like he wasn't caring, and we know that's never the case with him. We just didn't have what it took. And the other thing that Kate said, in a way as well, that I agree with, is if you look at the game as a whole, you could argue Brighton were actually there for the taking. We made them look good. We met in that first half particularly. We could have been 4 down by half time easily, but that first goal should never have been a goal. Even after all the mistakes, it was a relatively straightforward save for a keeper to make, especially someone of Sells' quality. He's not been in the side for a while. You say the same for the second goal to an extent, and then he obviously comes and pulls off another really good save. They care. The question is, can they get it together quickly enough to get the points we need? And that I can't answer. Ask me in May.
You mentioned about Chelsea Pereira coming in and getting that new manager bounce, but as I said at the top of the show, that honeymoon period is well and truly over for him now, and they haven't taken advantage of that new manager bounce, have they? Because they're 4 games in, and he's won the first and lost the next 3. So that's an opportunity wasted, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, it is. I am really struggling. I remember seeing a clip online, and I can't remember who it was who was saying it, but you're almost looking at it now. We were all very quick to blame, the manager. Obviously, let's take Ange out of the equation because that was definitely 100% his fault. Let's be honest. But we're now 4 managers in, and we're still in the exact same position. Now, for me, I'm really looking at it now, going, well, it can't be the manager now. Who is it? Because you cannot be 4 managers. 1, 2, 3, maybe. We're now on our 4th, and we're still playing that same frustration. And I'm talking to Forest fans now, and we are so deflated. It's been a long season. To be fair, it was a long season back in November, let's all be honest. We all felt like we needed May just to come and be over and done with. But now I totally understand what Molly's saying about the different styles of play. Players don't know whether they're coming or going. I'm very much in the middle between Kate and Mollo. I feel like some do care, and then others I'm seeing not care as much. Let's look at our whole squad. No one's gonna, everyone's gonna find it really easy to stay in the Premier League, aren't they? Teams are gonna snap them up. But now is crunch time, and I'm really struggling to see. Me and Dad were looking at where our points were going to come from, and I'm really struggling to see not just Pereira in charge, but any manager in charge at the moment, because of the 4 that we've had, where these points are going to come from. And like you said, Simon, it is going to get to a point now where we're going to be looking at Spurs, we're going to be looking at West Ham to drop points just in order for us to keep up. And our goal difference isn't great either compared to them either, so it's all just going to come down to the wire, isn't it?
I think it does. I think it's going to come down to right at the end of the season, like Mollo said, if Forest can pick up or scrape a 0-0, and it's desperate when you're talking about scraping a 0-0, isn't it? But
where it took a couple of 0-0s in our last 2 of our last 3 games, we'd be level with Spurs. And you've got to protect the clean sheet, and what we could do with right now is a manager who's an expert at fighting against relegation, who's an expert at keeping it organised at the back. Forget what football looks like. Oh no, sorry, we tried that, but it wasn't good enough for some Forest fans.
Yeah, I want to talk about Murillo in particular, Kate, because it seems to be a really bad time for him to be off form, doesn't it? Because we know when he's on form, he's so key. Being an ever-present is almost like a prerequisite, isn't it, for the team to be successful. And we know when he's not in the lineup, they struggle, and when he's off form like he's now, they struggle. That's 2 bad performances in a row, and it's just really unfortunate timing, isn't it, that it's occurring now?
It is really unfortunate timing, and I've heard people say that well done to Pereira for pulling off the bigger players when they aren't performing and being brave enough to make changes and try different systems. There's an element of that I understand where they're coming from, but Murillo is key. He's so key to what we do and what makes us good. When he's off form, when he's unhappy, when he looks like he's not fully invested in really grinding out a result, which I'm sorry again, Mollo, and I said this before we started filming, I have had quite an emotional response to yesterday, and I am aware of that, and I haven't had time to sit down today and really go through the nuts and bolts of it again, so I am coming off the back of still feeling quite emotional. But you've also got to see that as a manager. You've got to see who your absolute key players are, and you've got to get them right. You've got to get them performing. You know, Chelsea's spoken before about managers putting an arm around. We've had different management styles. We've had different management systems. Identify your key players, okay, and get them doing their jobs and what they need to do. That's my biggest concern about Pereira so far. I can see the positives. There are some. The players, we're led to believe, were not responding to Dyche. Like Match of the Day said, Pereira is more of a pressing manager. In his interview at the end, he spoke about making the changes in the second half, which he did. He did change the system a little bit, and that was a little bit more front foot. Is that what we need to be doing? Is that what we're good at? Are they good enough for that? I feel like maybe they think they are and they want to be, but are they? You have to identify your key players, what they're good at, and get them doing that well. And the last 2-3 games, I'm not sure that he's done that. Some accountability on them, absolutely. The players have to be accountable. As Chelsea said, as I've seen said before, it can't always be the manager. There's been too many of them. It's got to be a combination.
I think we talked in the last show about players being rested because Pereira has indicated himself that to go 90 3 times in a week is difficult. He did say he wanted to find that right balance between making changes and putting out a strong team. But Mollo hit the nail on the head, I think, and said it needs to be the strongest team every single game. And it's becoming more apparent now that that has to be the case if they want to progress, not only in the Europa League, but in the league as well, because outside of that first 11, they've proved they're not up to it. There's one or two probably you could make a case for being part of that 11. Maybe Yates is one of those people. Obviously Chris Wood, if he was around and he was fit, would be included in that. But you've got to now get to the point where he can't trust anybody outside of his first 11. And Mollo, you said last week, it's got to be the first 11 now, week in, week out, hasn't it? If they want to make any sort of impression or survival, now is the key word, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's again, it's that context thing that I was talking about earlier. And the third point I was going to make about context, but I've rambled on too long, so I thought I'd better stop, is we battered Fenerbahce at their place. We then put on a really good show against Liverpool, who have then shown what of side they can be against West Ham. But then we made all those changes. The momentum's gone. Not bad habits, I don't mean that, but bad performances came from good players against Fenerbahce at home, and they've continued that yesterday. You know, you can pick on the fingers of one hand how many mistakes Neco's made and not made up for instantly this season, and then he suddenly has basically nearly 2 games where he looks. It was a liability. You know, I hate saying it, and I'm sorry, Kate.
No, you're right.
To be
That's
fair,
why
Kate,
it's so
I want to just pick you up. I feel bad. You know, you're so down, and I get it. But this is a top-class player who I wouldn't have swapped with very many fullbacks in the whole league over the last 18 months or longer. And he was, you know, he just had a real off day. But that's 2 on the trot. People say tiredness, but you're not tired in the first 10 minutes of a game when you're missing a clearance. You're not tired when you're sprinting round midfield, chasing the ball like a dog on heat.
while your player just drifts to the back post, while nobody backs you up on that chase and nobody slots in for you, which should be one of the central midfielders' jobs, but don't get me started on that. And you think, in context, that Fenerbahce home game has had a detrimental effect because we were awful, and it's carried on. And even, I mean, when he came on, Sangare did okay against Fenerbahce when he came on. It steadied the ship a little bit. He actually could pass to a red shirt, which a lot of them hadn't been doing. He might as well have just dug a hole and climbed in it yesterday, and he's not the only one. And when we needed the sort of midfield to roll up their sleeves and start fighting for everything, obviously Anderson did, even though he wasn't having a good game, but he basically went missing, didn't he, Sangare? I think another point, he doesn't necessarily know his players that well yet. I don't know how many of the videos he's watched of the games this season, but going away to Brighton for some bizarre reason, as a fan base, and we've been guilty of it on this channel, some people have underestimated how tough a trip it is. And on my other WhatsApp group, everyone was saying this is dangerous going with two wingers away at Brighton, the space that they can exploit if we're not on it. If ever there was a game for packing your midfield, it's against Brighton, isn't it? You know, they're kind of they're like the tippy tappy team of the league. When they're on it, they're very, very good. And there was an occasion where Ola Aina was stood, and it was like watching a training drill, like Piggy in the middle with three players around him. It was in their half, and he was like, I'm just like, seriously, give him some support, or just get out of that Ola and go and do your job at the back. And I genuinely think, going back to your original question, we aren't good enough to make many changes. I think you're being generous when you say our first 11. I think it's our first 9 now with the various injuries we have. I think we've got players who have to play at the moment who aren't good enough at this point in time for the Premier League. Thank God we signed Ortega as well, because I don't know what would have happened in the last few weeks. Perhaps I'm being unfair on Gunn, he might be decent in there. But, you know, Ortega's been outstanding, typically now injured. But ultimately, the only way we're getting out of this is to fight tooth and nail for every ball. And we can whinge and moan all we like, and we certainly want to, and we have every right to, but the split that's been going on in the fan base gradually through the season, with manager after manager after manager, people defending the manager quite rightly when they're in post and backing him. I understand that 100%. I've done the same up until the point that they go. You know, whether we think they should have gone or not, we discuss it because that's what we're here for, in a sense of what we do. But then I get behind the next man. We are no longer the 12th man. If anything, we've become a liability to our own players at home at times. And I hate saying that, but there's been times this season, and you've alluded to it in the past, Kate, how it's been toxic in the ground under various times. You've got the I hate Sean Dyche's football's crap team group alongside the rest saying, well, actually, I don't care what the football likes, I want to get out of relegation first and foremost. And it's all come together that the atmosphere at the ground isn't what it once was. It's still great when we score, and we're still not like those plastic clubs up and down the country, but it's not the 12th man that it was. And some point we've got to realise with these last few games, everybody, whatever they think of the manager, whatever they think of certain players, whatever they think of the tactics or whatever, we've just got to get right behind them. At home I'm talking, obviously, because the home games are critical. Away, the fans were superb yesterday. First away game I've missed like however long, and you could hear them on constantly on the TV, and brilliant as always. But at home we've got to make it that fortress again. Well, we're not going to make it a fortress, are we? We've got to make it an intimidating place to go again. And it's all that context stuff. We've just got to get to the summer, because I genuinely believe if we get to the summer in this division, and obviously Europa League winners hopefully, next season we'll see a change in fortunes, because the lessons will have been learned by everybody at the club from top to bottom, I hope.
You mentioned there about Pereira not necessarily knowing his players well enough yet, but Chelsea did make a brave call and decided to omit from his squad Lorenzo, Luca and Morato. Do you think we've potentially seen the end of them now? With and we talked about it last show, Jair Cunha showed a bit of promise against Fenerbahce, and sure enough he made the bench and came on against Brighton, so it looks like he's going to get some minutes when called upon. But do you think that's the end of the Lucca experiment, has run out of Lucca?
Sorry. That's a good one. I liked it. I think Morata, yes, we've probably seen enough of him at the moment, but well, again, I don't know. The thing is with Luca, I think he's preferring Woney over Luca anyway, which at the moment, rightly so. I think Luca, we kind of held. Did I say something wrong then, or am I in the thing?
No, we're agreeing.
No, he was
sorry.
agreeing.
Oh God,
Although,
I thought did I.
To be fair, I thought you said Woney for a moment, and I thought, where's Ian Wone come back
Woney.
again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's the Suffolk accent coming out. That's what it is. But yeah, he's definitely preferring Awoni, and I think we put Luca up on this pedestal of that he was going to be the miracle man to come in and completely save us from relegation, and he most certainly is not that. I have got to that point where I have got no idea what Pereira's got up his sleeves or he prefers. Like Molo said, I don't know whether he has found his squad that he, is his strongest 11, that I'm going to say. I think it is still going to take a while for him to understand who he prefers, even formation. I really am struggling to see what it's going to be till the end of the season, if I'm completely honest. I think Luca, we probably haven't seen, and to be fair, I don't even think maybe we'll see much of Morata now.
He did change the formation at half-time or early in the second half when Jad Cooney came on, and they played three at the back with wing-backs Chelsea. I don't know, though, whether that's something he would want to look to maintain, because it's yet another thing they've got to learn under another new manager, and I don't know if they've got the time in between games to learn that system. Chelsea, would you stick with the back four, which is kind of tried and trusted, I say loosely in inverted commas, or would you look to do something different to kind of give a bit of spark, do something different, and maybe even catch the opposition off guard a little bit with a new formation?
Personally, with me, I would always stick with the back four. I think it's been tried, it's been tested, we know that it works. And when you look at the strength of our squad, when you go from the back forward, when you go to midfield and up front, let's be honest, the back four is the strongest that we've got out of the whole of our formation. So in my head, don't fix what's not broken. And really, up front and midfield is where you need to focus your energy on and where we need to start scoring goals. So don't start playing around with the bloody defence, because let's be honest, that's fine. I wouldn't change that. But again, I don't think we've got the time. I really don't. How many games left now? Is it 10?
10 games, yeah.
10 games.
In the league.
Yeah, in the league. And I don't think that's enough time now. Flat back four, fine. I've always said that is literally like the brick wall that we have. Sales, it works much better for Sales. He's a lot more confident when it is the back four. Focus now is up front and scoring goals. Like Molo said, we can go through with picking up a point of a 0-0 draw, and we can defend as well as we can. But if you're not scoring goals, you're not picking up 3 points. And that's our problem.
Talking of scoring goals, Morgan Gibbs-White has now scored 24 Premier League goals for Forest and has equalled Brian Roy's record of Premier League goals, so he now sits joint second in the list. Kate, you alluded to it earlier. It seems as though Morgan Gibbs-White is going to be the driving force behind any kind of resurgence, isn't he? He's the one that seems to want to grab things by the scruff of the neck and lead that team like the captain he is.
Yeah, and that I did see a lot of evidence of that yesterday. He was my bright spot, not just because of the goal, which was an incredible goal, and it was, and we mustn't take anything away from that, but because he was going to the other players, why are you there? What are you doing? Signalling to them what he wanted from the row, wanted them to be, which is, that is a captain's performance. That is what he's trying to do. Molo said, I don't understand why they seem to have lost a bit of football intelligence. It was almost like he was trying to give that back to them. Come on, you know this, do this with me, which I think was the important thing. It felt like he was trying to cover more than one position for a lot of the game, and he was constantly pinging backwards and forwards, trying to make sure that the big gaps weren't being left. They were being left. He can't physically be in two places at the same time. But he is absolutely my bright spot. And I know he's got a lot of haters out there, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of people that don't agree with me in saying this, but he is turning up. He is trying. He is performing. He does look like he cares. And do you know what? If he got injured, I dread to think how bad it would get. Because I've said it before, we need to hope that we can drag ourselves across the line and stay up. And he is going to be right at the front, dragging everybody else with him. Because at the moment, he is our leader. He is our leader on the pitch. He is our leading scorer at a time when we need goals more than anything else. And now, what did he mouth at the end of the game? Have I seen?
Every single time, I think, all words to that effect.
And I totally get that. That is a player that cares. You know, he did his part and then some yesterday.
Doesn't it show as well, though, you can change that narrative, the people who try and turn it on him. And I'm 100% in the camp that every game I've ever seen him play for Forest, he runs his nuts off. Even when he's having a bad time of it and he has those games where he's turning into trouble, giving the ball away, he runs his nuts off and gives everything. And him getting on the players' backs the other day was for all the right reasons, and they deserved it. There'll still be one or two out there waiting, if he isn't the main man, to say, oh, he's just moaning at players and blah blah blah. And God, they needed it. So yeah, he has been at. I think the other bright spot, to be fair, was, and you've alluded to it, Simon, Cunha, having done that 40 minutes odd in the second half where he looked the part on Thursday, he came on and he did look. We know he's good on the ball, but he did look pretty solid, and he's quick, and there's something there to work with. But we are clutching at straws. We're talking about the positives, aren't we?
We are. Let's face it, there wasn't really much else to be positive about, was there? So, but before we move on and turn the page on Brighton, any final thoughts either any of you want to talk about before we move on? Because hopefully, Kate, you've got another quiz for us.
Final thing on Brighton. It puts it into context, and this is not to be disrespectful. I think we're predictable with the lineup we played because obviously we haven't got anything else to do, and we got schooled by 40-year-old James Milner, who is a terrific player, has been a terrific player, but we should have been running the legs off him like we were the older players when we first played Fenerbahce. So fair play to Milner. I called it when I was watching it. I said he's been man of the match by. He dictated the play at his age. Nobody sat on him. And we can all be armchair experts. It's different when you're stood there. But the texts were flying around going, we need another man in midfield. We need another man in midfield. I'd go so far as to say the last 10 games, one of the first people on our team sheet now would be Dominguez. Somewhere in that midfield. Just because of what he does and what he gives and the energy.
I would echo that. And that's another comment that I made at the end of the game. Where was Dominguez?
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on from Brighton then. It's going to be Gibbs-White surely for all four of us, isn't it?
Yes.
Unless you're going somewhere else, Kate.
Good God, no, Gibbs-White.
Absolutely not. Gibbs-White. Get that 4 points for him on our tally, Simon.
Just to add to that, Kate, have you seen the scores on Analysis? It was like Gibbs-White getting scores between sort of 65 and 75. Everybody else was like way down there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was a big drop.
Yeah.
Mollo, I don't suppose you have a Mollo's moment. Was it sitting on your couch?
Yeah, not throwing up for 90 minutes. No, Gibbs-White's goal, undoubtedly. Even for that brief 2 minutes of beauty where we thought we were back in it. But yeah.
I have a little one in amongst all the rubbish that was yesterday. When the referee finally gave us a free kick and everybody cheered like something really good had happened, and then we backed it up with singing, you're still at, I'm not going to swear on the pod, but that was funny. I was like, even in these moments of absolute despair, the away fans can still pull out an amusing chant that's a little bit negative to the ref. So that was my little moment.
There you go, there's Minds' moment.
Yes.
Right, talking of Minds' moment, Kate, have you got a quiz for us this week, please?
I do have a quiz for you. Okay. So obviously, we're all super excited about Wednesday night and our trip to the Etihad. Can't wait. So my quiz is: who was the last player to score for Nottingham Forest at the Etihad?
Got it. FA Cup.
Was it really the FA Cup?
Yeah.
Was it the 3-0?
Yeah.
Have we not scored at the Etihad since then?
We've never
6-0,
scored there since we got
2-0,
promoted.
3-0 with the last 3 seasons.
Wow.
I know the answer to that one, I think. I don't think Chelsea was even born, were you, Chelsea?
Oh, no, she would have been 2009.
Oh, well, definitely I was born. I just can't remember that far back.
Yeah, your dad might remember. Right, we'll come back to that one at the end of the show then. So let's look forward. You mentioned Man City on Wednesday, Kate. Realistically, is anyone hoping, expecting to get anything out of that or not? Chelsea, what are you thinking?
No, absolutely not. It's one of them ones, I just want it to pass me by. I just want to go upstairs, get into my bed, under the duvet, and just let me know and wake me up when it's all over. That's going to be that, and I just don't want to watch anything. I don't want to read the news of anything that's how I'm feeling about it. It's more now, I'm now looking at, okay, well, we know we're not going to win, but maybe if we just lose 1 or 2-0, just to keep the goal difference a bit low, then that'd be great. That's how I'm viewing it at the moment.
That's what I'd got down in my notes. Is it simply a case of damage limitation?
Yes.
More than anything else, because no Forest fan with any common sense would think that they're going to go there and get a result, Kate. Maybe the one glimmer of hope, perhaps, is we're not sure whether Haaland's going to play at this stage or not. So maybe that offers something, but I'm expecting him to play. Are you going to the game?
Of course I'm going to the game.
Or 2 long trips in a week, glutton for
I
punishment.
mean, it's not so far. It's not so far. Yes, I'm going to the game. We have a full car travelling to Manchester on Wednesday night. I've not spoken to a single person that has any kind of hope. A couple of people have said, oh, but wouldn't it be so Forest to... And I'm like, no, not against
Maybe
Man
last
City.
season.
Not against Man City at the Etihad. I cannot honestly see any way that we get anything from this. I hope I'm wrong. I say this a lot. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's an absolute wonder shock. I can't... Damage limitation from the word go.
Right.
Go on, Mollo, go on!
See,
on.
Mollo,
Let's be clear.
the
game starts at 0-0. We've got a point. We protect that point with everything we've got. If the mentality's right, we've got good enough defenders, good enough midfielders. If we don't go with 2 wingers away at the Etihad, which would be suicidal, and the hardest working centre forward we've had in years. Might not score anything, but he can help put pressure on them and their fancy back four. Get in amongst them from the off, especially that cheating so-and-so that should have been sent off at our place. And there's nothing apart from the fact that they've got 20 world-class players to stop us getting a clean sheet. Now, if we get a clean sheet, we get at least a point. They protect the clean sheet. And I know I sound like Sean Dyche, I know he's not our manager anymore, but a certain Mr. Clough used to say that we start with a point, let's keep that point at all costs. I don't care if we don't cross the halfway line like with any real commitment. I don't care if we end up lumping it into the far corner and get Jesus to chase it in and put pressure on the fullback and win a throw in. This is football. This is the way it's going to have to be. And I'll give you one word that gives us hope. Arsenal. Well, it's 2 words because Arsenal at home, admittedly. We matched what was at that point an absolutely flying Arsenal team, and some might argue we knocked them off their rails a little bit since then, and they've only just started to get back on them. That's not me saying we're going to win or we're going to draw, but we can't go up there thinking, oh, we're going to lose anything. You know, do you remember we went up there in the first season? Oh, it's a free hit. We got spanked 6-0. We're not that team anymore. With all due respect, I love Joe Worrell, but we've got a Brazilian top quality, should be international, that teams like Real Madrid are looking at, alongside the Serbian captain, alongside the best right back in the league last season.
alongside, up until a week ago, one of the best defensive left back in the league. We've got a fresh, hopefully Ryan Yates, if he's fit to play. I know it's a finger injury and you don't kick the ball, but he must have been in a lot of pain. We've got a Dominguez who can run his socks off. We know we might not be the most creative team in the world, but we can spoil, and that's what we've got to do. That's the only way we can do it. And I'm predicting we're going to lose 3-0.
Are you suggesting they should park the bus tactically?
I'm suggesting we got 3 points by parking the bus on Saturday. We should park it again up there and get 1. Unfortunately, the 3 points were a fine, but anyway.
Yeah, I was going to say, they parked the bus at Brighton, literally in front of the hotel, and they got a parking ticket. Did you know that?
Yeah,
Is that real or is that AI?
No, that would be true. You're forgetting who runs Brighton. It's the Green Party. So any kind of traffic excuse they can do, they will. But yeah, it's true. They did get a fine. And I know where that hotel is because I used to live down that way for a while, and it doesn't surprise me at all that they would be that officious.
The other thing
let's do it again and get a point this time instead of 3.
Yeah, the other thing to consider, this is a 2-horse race. And there's a phrase in American football called any given Sunday, because on any given Sunday, any team can beat any other team. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but this is a 2-horse race. It is 50-50. So you just never know. It just needs a little bit of luck, a little bit of slice of luck to get deflection or a brilliant save.
How many Wolves fans thought they'd draw 2-2 with Arsenal the other night?
So you're right. Any given day, you just never know. But
we have to park the bus. Absolutely right about that.
Which makes me think, is he going to play the first 11? His first 11, is that going to be more defensive as well? Is he going to throw on an extra defender, or he most likely should play Dominguez as well? Shouldn't he, being that more defensive minded? Because you can't go to the Etihad with 2 wingers like Hudson-Odoi and Hutchinson, can you?
No,
Absolutely not. And do you know what? For all the fact that I am pretty sure that we are going to lose and potentially lose quite heavily, I wouldn't be anywhere else. I will be giving everything I've got from the away end in cheering them on and clapping them and staying with them. And, we are in the Premier League, at least for now. So let's go to the Etihad, because we're playing Man City at the Etihad in the Premier League. Let's not take that for granted, and let's give as much as we can as fans in the away end, watching on the TV, listening on the radio, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. It's all we've got right now. So
we do have to keep half an eye on the other fixtures, of course. West Ham are away at Fulham, who have just beaten Spurs and playing reasonably well at home. Spurs themselves do have a home game against Crystal Palace, and you just never know what you're going to get with Crystal Palace, who were playing reasonably well at Old Trafford until they pressed that self-destruct button. So you just never know. Those two teams might do us a favour.
He'll be suspended though, won't he, Lacroix?
The defender will, yeah.
Spurs can't, not Spurs. If they can't win that one, then they might as well give up and go home.
I don't know whether you saw Igor Tudor in the press afterwards. He was literally throwing a paddy, accusing Fulham of cheating or having a homer referee. So he seems to have lost it already, and he's only just been appointed. But
it was bad though.
It's a little push. It's a little one.
Yeah, but
How do you even
what I
notice?
mean is that consistency, isn't it? The same thing happened last week. I'm glad it's happened that way round. But normally with them it would be different with Fulham, wouldn't it? I'm really shocked. But they were both fouls in truth, and I just hope they carry on being as rubbish as they have been, because Palace were doing okay, weren't they, at Old Trafford, as you say? Whereas even if they hadn't have scored that push goal, they looked terrible, Tottenham.
final word on the general relegation fight overall. I was reading an article on Football 365 today where they were looking at the possibility of both or Forest or Spurs getting relegated and playing in the Champions League, which is what we talked about last week. And they had a fan survey on there for you to vote on who you think were most likely to go down out of all the teams at the bottom. And interestingly, I don't know how many votes there were, but percentage-wise, leading the race to go down with 40% were Any ideas? You're right, Spurs. And then
That's 'cause
followed,
their fans are so entitled, they probably even think they're entitled to relegation as well.
yeah, and Forest and West Ham were quite closely matched. I think it was 22 to 27%, slightly in West Ham's favour. But interestingly, and you don't know the population of who's voting, but Spurs were the general consensus to go down.
Do you reckon it's more the fact of that people just want Spurs to go down rather than actually thinking that,
Yeah,
though?
a lot
Because
of
let's be
London
honest,
Yeah.
unless you
voting
support
that.
Spurs, you don't like them, do you?
Yeah.
So,
You've got to look at the fact they haven't won a game in the whole of 2026 yet, and we're now in March, so I guess there's that negative momentum as well, isn't it, that people are going to look at. And if they've watched Spurs play in the last couple of months, they'll probably think, wow. I mean, look at, with all due respect to the players that played against them, look at how bad they were at the City Ground. They're the worst team we've seen at the City Ground since we got promoted. And we beat Brighton 7-0, and they were better than that.
Right, okay. We've been going 3/4 of an hour. Let's go back to the quiz then, Kate. Remind us and the listeners and the viewers of the question, please, because I think I've got the answer.
Yeah. Who was the last player to score for Nottingham Forest at the Etihad?
Go on, Mollo.
I was going to say, I was going to let you go.
I think it's Joe Garner.
Marlo?
I think it's Joe Garner, following on from Nathan Tyson.
And Robert Earnshaw. Robert Earnshaw.
yeah, I'm going to go Joe Garner too.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. It was the FA Cup shock. Nathan Tyson scored first, followed by Rob Earnshaw, followed by Joe Garner when we beat them 3-0. And yeah, Joe Garner was the last player to score for Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, jeez.
And that
I
was
can't believe that.
2009, 17 years ago.
Well, let's hope somebody
Wow.
puts it right on Wednesday night.
Wouldn't that be lovely? I'll just take a clean sheet. That was also our last clean sheet there, wasn't it?
Yeah. Right, any final thoughts, any other business? Mollo, start with you.
No, nothing. Just I think tickets have gone live today for the Garibaldi Girls Gala, so that's a big deal. And the last I heard, Lee Wood had donated a signed glove, and there's various other prizes, including the Tricky Talks voucher for the Forest Club shop, I believe, and there's signed shirts, signed first team shirts, tickets to various things such as the museum, the netball, the ladies team, ladies game, so various prizes on offer on the evening as well. So
Where can they buy tickets, Mollo? Where can you buy
that's
tickets if
where
you
I
want to
hand
go?
over to Chelsea.
Go on, Chelsea.
Yeah, if you are a member, then you will get the link through on your email. So all you have to do is click the link and then buy from there. And I believe now it is on our Instagram, if I am correct. So the link should be in the bio, or it will be on an Instagram post. So just click the link below. And I echo everything else that Mollo just said.
Yeah, actually, to be fair, we've got so many prizes that have been donated, and massive big up to the team that helping to organise this, particularly Ella, who's been out there, you know, ringing people, emailing people, messaging people, getting them to donate. But we've had such a positive response. Like, if you buy a raffle ticket, you are really, really likely to win yourself a prize. And I think that's credit to the team. Credit to the fact that we are raising this money for the Nottingham Women's Centre, which people are, you know, really respecting as the amazing charity that it is, and the work that they do. So it's going to be a great night. There's some fantastic prizes. There are some big people getting on board and supporting with this. So like Chelsea says, go on Instagram, check out the Garibaldi Girls page, get your tickets.
Thanks for that. And we are trying to arrange a Garibaldi Girls Tricky Talk special, aren't we, as we get nearer to the gala. So we'll see whether that materialises or not. And obviously that's another opportunity to plug that. But Chelsea, anything else you want to bring up?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to, what Kate had touched on about the Nottingham Women's Centre, we are trying to raise within a year enough money for a part-time counsellor. So that is what the money will be used for, that we will be raising for from the gala as well. So we've got a very big target in mind, but we think that it is achievable with everybody's help. So it's going to a very good cause. You know where your money and your donations are going to be going. So it's all for a good cause. And yes, please get your tickets.
Okay, excellent. Thanks, Chelsea. Anything from you, Kate?
No, just yeah. See everyone after Wednesday.
Can you do me one favour, Kate?
Sure.
Whatever you do, I don't know what music you like, but don't listen to any Morrissey or Cure or similar music until after the end of this week.
I could definitely promise you that.
I forgot to ask, are you going, Mollo? Are you recovered enough from your illness to be travelling on Wednesday?
Yeah, I should think so. It's
Excellent.
Not priorities, but yeah, I've got something that I've got to sort out that I need to try and change first. But
Yeah, 7:30 kickoff is actually quite difficult, isn't it?
especially that M6, but I've got tickets. But you have to use them now as well, don't you? Otherwise you get told off.
Okay, one last thing from me. I just want to say that Adam Wicklow, who is one of the hosts of the Red Side of the Trent podcast, unfortunately lost his wife to cancer earlier in the week. So on behalf of the four of us, I just want to send our condolences to him and their respective families as well. So it's part of the Forest podcast community, so we just want to wish him well, of course, too. In the meantime, we shall be back after Wednesday, most likely Thursday or Friday. Hopefully we won't be sat in the relegation zone, but I want to thank everyone for listening and watching on YouTube today, and we'll speak to you again real soon.